Hello, my name is Zay and welcome to another Final Fantasy XIV guide. Today we're going over beginner tips, tricks, and even some roadblocks you might have encountered on your journey through Eorzean. For the sake of time, I'm going to be going pretty quickly through each tip, but if you have any further questions or maybe would like to know an answer of something I didn't cover, feel free to leave it in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. The second quest you receive in the game will have you do 3 things, and these might as well be your guideline for the rest of the game. The first up is MSQ, which is your main scenario questline. This will follow you all the way from level 1 up until level 90. By the way, this is my main account, and as you can see on the top left, I still have MSQ that I haven't done. Speaking of MSQ, if you go to the top left, as in click it or select it with your controller, it'll open a map that shows the area the quest is in, and anything near it, so it's pretty much impossible to get lost. Hopefully. Next up is teleporty rocks, or Aetheryites. That's pretty much it. They're used for teleporting, it's quick travel in this game, but magic! You unlock teleportation whenever you find an Aetherite that is not in your starting city, so one of the areas just outside it works fine. Once you do that, you unlock teleportation and can teleport to any of them from anywhere at the cost of gil. Each hub city also has mini versions of these that you can use for free once you unlock them. These are great for traveling around the city, and there's usually one that's located around your job quest area, so very good as well. Job quests are story quests that are based around your class or job. These become available at certain levels. The rewards vary from weapons, gear, and even whole abilities for your job, so these are about as mandatory as MSQ. I even recommend doing these as a break from MSQ in order to get better gear, weapons, etc. The questline for each job starts at whatever level they start at, and then it goes all the way up until level 70 when the final job quest is available. To wrap it all up, MSQ is your straight line through the game and your main form of progression. Job quests are things that you unlock every now and then that are important to do, as they give you new abilities and gear to enhance your character's power overall as you progress through your story. Finally, attuning with new Aetherites is great for future quick travel and to reduce travel time in total. You might bump into somebody who's not letting you pass. This is because he wants to inspect your gear, which requires you to have a piece of gear on all of your main body parts, including your head. Once you satisfy this requirement, you can continue through MSQ just like that. There are going to be some MSQ quests that require something specific to be done in order to progress them by simply clicking on the character again, or by reading your event tab, which will have all the dialogue previously said. You can probably figure out what you need to do. Some quests will even require you to emote at a target, which you can do by selecting the character and then going over to your social tab. MSQ is pretty simple overall, so if you ever get stuck, it probably has to do with equipping some type of gear or emoting at a specific NPC. Next, let's talk about character power. This is what makes you better, hit harder, and maybe even a little bit tankier as well. The general order for this is going to be weapon/gear, then job abilities, and finally character level. The best way to think of it that makes sense for me is that raising your character level increases your max potential. Then getting the weapon and gear as well as job abilities of that level is when you realize that potential. Final Fantasy XIV gearing is very simple, and usually a higher eye level is going to be better regardless of your role. However, for those people that like to have a little bit more focus when it comes to leveling their character, you can follow this prio depending on your role. Tanks like gear because it increases their max HP, so it makes them tankier, and healers and DPS both benefit from having a better weapon, as not only does it increase the damage of both, but it also increases the healing of a healer. Gear affects your character's strength, especially at a low level, so whenever you get new pieces of gear, make sure you equip it and keep up with your job quests, as they will give you both gear and maybe some new abilities. Alrighty, I gave you a small break from my voice, but let's continue on. First up is Hunting Log. You get this as soon as you complete the first job quest of your main role, and then it is subsequently unlocked for every other class you then level on. This is like a little hit list that will have you go out and kill certain enemies in order to get a bonus of XP. You don't actively have to go out and chase them, and sometimes you'll just wander into them. They're shown by the little half crescent moon above their head on the icon, which tells you that they are part of your hunting log. Because MSQ gives a lot of XP to your first character, you won't really have to do these, but for leveling alt characters, this is a very valuable source of early XP, especially to get to level 15 so you can start running dungeons. Speaking of dungeons, there's quite a lot to go over, but I'm going to try to simplify it so you get the absolute basics and are ready to go at least through the entirety of ARR. If you make your way to this guy, the Smith, who will unlock Hall of the Novice for you, which is a crash course on your role and your kind of job in dungeons. This is going to be about as useful as my explanation, but it does give you a ring that lets you get bonus XP up to level 30, so it is advised to at least accomplish it once, and then you can go into the dungeon. First up, as soon as you unlock your first dungeon in the game, you have a choice. You can either play with other people with a queue system, or you can simply go in with a bunch of NPCs. If you choose to queue for other people, if you are a tank or a healer, chances are your queue will be a little quicker as they're less scarce, and if you choose a DPS, your queue might be a little longer, but you'll get there eventually. Now for a general rundown of how dungeons work. There are going to be 3 bosses within a dungeon and groups of mobs in between each of them until the final boss. You are required to kill most things, but not all of them if they are out of the way. You work with your group to go through the dungeon, with the tank usually leading and the rest of the party following behind. The tank leads because it has the most HP and it's designed to gather all of the enemies in a small little group. Then the rest of the party will start hitting the entirety of the group until everything is dead. So to quickly run down the different roles of the group, tanks will head in first, grab all the enemies, and gather them up. Healers will make sure that they don't die and constantly heal anybody who gets hit. And as for DPS, you don't have any secondary role, your job is to make sure everything dies as quickly as possible. Of course, you do not have to be perfect the moment you step in. Feel free to take your time, ease your way through content, and you'll be going through dungeons no problem. Speaking of, the dungeon structure stays pretty constant throughout the game, so learning early is going to help you even later on. The main thing that changes is you and your abilities as opposed to how the dungeon works. As you get more familiar with your class and the game, you end up getting better overall, and going back to these older dungeons will have you thinking, wow, these are actually super easy. Dungeons early on were actually some of my favorite forms of content when I was barely getting into the game, so I hope that you learn to love these as well, as you'll be doing them throughout the entirety of MSQ. There's a lot of little nuances to dungeons that you kind of only learn by going through them, so I hope you go through every single dungeon you possibly can and really get to fall in love with the game's combat system and how you interact with other players. Everyone starts out somewhere, and it's okay to not know what you're doing, it's okay to make mistakes, as long as you're enjoying yourself and having a good time. One final thing about dungeons is that the ending boss will have a cutscene, and particularly for newer players that haven't experienced it, it's very much proper etiquette to wait until their cutscene is finished before finally starting the boss. Especially on some very story-driven dungeons, you only get to experience this for the first time, one time. And as I've played through the game, I know for a fact majority of people do this and wait, so chances are someone's waited on you, so please do the same for others. Next, we're going to go over some unlockable quests that are not related to MSQ, but are little quality of lives or things that can help you on your journey. First up is going to be the challenge log. You can start doing the quest for this after a certain MSQ in Limsa Lominsa, and a blue quest marker along with another one will show up in the same area. This is a simple talk to this person, talk to the next person, and talk to the last person quest, so it's very easy to finish and rewards you with the challenge log. It's more of a general log that gives you more XP and gil for doing kind of the same things you would be doing. For example, one of them is to accomplish a certain amount of dungeons, and this one resets every single day. Like I said, some of these are things you would be doing regularly, and some of these you might want to go out of your way for just to complete for the fun of it. Next up is the hairstylist quest, which is found in the same area and unlocked at the same time, called Beauty is Only a Scalp Deep. Doing this quest allows you to modify your character's hairstyle, hair color, and a little bit of other things, but you need to do this one first, and then you get to access to him later, which I'll talk about. Next, we're going to go over some other quests in a different area, so head over to Old Doll and we'll go from there. From here, head over to the strip with all the merchants, because we're going to need to buy some orange juice for a later quest. Simply walk up to Catherine and go ahead and purchase some orange juice. Food in general is good to have, as it'll give you a 3% EXP bonus simply for having it on. Most food will last for 30 minutes, and if you eat 2 at a time, you'll get an hour. Now that you have your orange juice, we're going to head over to Horizon, which is in Western Thanaland. Feel free to walk there or teleport there if you have it unlocked already. We're going to be picking up 2 additional quests, and we're going to continue going northwest in order to get them. Once you make it to Vesper Bay, you can talk to Swear Jim, and she'll have 2 quests for you. One of them unlocks Dying for your gear, and the other unlocks the Glamour system, which is the Transmog version of this game. You're going to need to turn in an orange juice, which we happened to buy earlier, and then the other quest is a simple talk and fetch quest in this area. We're gonna head to one last area in Limsa Laminza to buy something as well, and then we're gonna head to the inn room where I'm going to explain everything we just unlocked. Once you're in Limsa, go ahead and find this person and buy some of the Hempen gear. This is really good early Glamour gear, and we're gonna use it to explain Glamour as well. Finally, go to whichever main city you want to go to and talk to the innkeep. This will allow you to go into a instanced solo room that has a bunch of features that we're going to talk about now. Inn rooms by themselves are great for just relaxing solo, as it's a solo instance so nobody will be able to bother you, and you kind of get a nice quiet space to your own. Let's talk about one of the first features. The Unending Journey is a book that allows you to replay and revisit any cutscene you've experienced in the game. It also creates a snapshot of your character, so whatever your character looked like or whatever gear they were using at the time will also be shown in this cutscene. There's an option to switch this to your current appearance, but it's a cool way to look back and see how far you've come. There's a summoning bell for retainers, which I haven't gone over as you get them later, but the crystal bell summons the Aesthetician that we unlocked in an earlier quest. This is the hair guy that'll allow you to modify certain parts of your character for a price of gil. This just lets you modify your character from a facial level, so hair color, lip color, maybe even face paint. It's just little tweaks that allow you to change your character, keep them fresh if you want to constantly be changing them without having to spend actual money. This is a in-game currency, so you have no worries there. The final thing I'm going to talk about in the inn is the Glamour system. So there are 2 ways to actually glamour gear in this game. You can simply overwrite the gear itself, or you can use something called Glamour plates, which are the widely more popular one. You'll see 2 boxes in the area, the Armoire and the Glamour dresser. Armoire is for specific gear that is special, like event-given items, etc., and the Glamour dresser is for pretty much every other gear in the game. The way that the Glamour dresser works is for the cost of 1 prism gem, you can input certain gear into your Glamour dresser, and the way to access these gears is through the Glamour plate creation system. These are basically Glamour presets that allow you to mix and match anything in your Glamour collection and save them in a plate form. Currently, I'm making a Glamour with the Hempen pieces that we bought earlier, and I'm also dyeing these pieces by opening up the command section and selecting dye and then a specific color. Once you're satisfied with your preset, go ahead and click save, and then you can exit out of this menu. In order to access your Glamour plate, you're going to open up your character information screen, and there's a little tab right above your level that allows you to open the Glamour plate section. From here, just find the Glamour plate you made and hit apply. It'll now put that Glamour plate over the gear you currently have. Now you're all set and ready to explore the world of Final Fantasy XIV and get more and new good-looking glamours to make your character look as good as possible. There are plenty of people who play this game and play content specifically just to get a certain glamour from it, so that's definitely a pathway you can take as well, and I think that's about everything I want to cover in this video. Final little closing tips: make sure you do your daily roulettes. These reset daily, and although you start off with very little early on, you'll probably only have leveling. Eventually, you unlock a bunch of them, and they're a very good tool for EXP, extra gil, as well as some endgame tomes that you're going to be running or needing to use. Try to join a free company as well. Having people to play the game with kind of just makes the experience a little better. And although you can do majority of the game single player, just having some friends to just hang out with, I think, adds a lot to regular things in this game. And I think that's about everything. Oh my god, I forgot. Okay, hold on. So if you go to social, right, you see this blacklist button? Yeah, you see all these people. Blacklist anybody that's rude or mean. Majority of the community is going to be really nice and cool and chill. But that it is an online game, and you will run into some weirdos. Don't feel bad about blacklisting. There are millions of people that play this game. Blacklisting 1, 2, 3, 20, 40, 50 people is not going to ruin your experience. In fact, it'll probably just make it better. So yeah, you can head to here, blacklist people. I think you can even search people to blacklist from here. I'm not too sure. I think you can. There's also a recents tab. I think it's under contacts. Yeah, this will be anybody that you did things recently. It'll also show you their job, their name, what content it was in. So if you have a trouble forgetting, you can just go here and, you know, just send the blacklist. With that being said, have a wonderful day, and I hope you guys enjoy Final Fantasy XIV. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them, and I'm going to make a lot more content as we lead up to Dantro. Bye!